Oh, hello. My name is Mara, and welcome to Books Like Whoa. Ago, I had a really good time coming up with a if you like this, then you should read this kind of list. And I've had some other ideas about pairings I would like to do specifically around series, but I decided I didn't want to make that like an entire thing unto itself. So I combined those ideas with some other if you like this, then you'd like this pairings in the meantime. So we're going to just do a round 2 of if you like this, read this, knowing that some of these are going to be more series and not just individual books. So FYI there. And then, I don't know, I also have thought about doing an if you like this author, then try this author kind of video. So let me know if you guys are interested in that as well. Let's dive into some recommendations, some bookish pairings. This is also called read-alike titles by librarians, or sometimes they also call it reader advisory. That whole idea of using one book to make a recommendation about a different book you might like. Let's dive in. So first of all, I think that if you liked SAWKILL Girls by LeGrand, I think you would also enjoy The Devouring Grey by Christine Lynn Herman. And here's why. I do think that the SAWKILL Girls book has a better, like the overall writing quality is a little bit better, but the things that are similar about the two books are, one, they are both YA kind of horror basically. They are both set in sort of rural communities with a collective horrific past. There are definitely elements of like queerness in both of them, which are pretty prominent, which I think is cool. Both of them, I'm gonna say, don't have a ton of plot. Like both of them, I think, in my opinion, have some pacing issues, but if that didn't bother you in SAWKILL Girls, it probably also won't bother you here. And I think both of them also, like this one even more so, but they both have kind of a sudsy Riverdale quality to them, at least a little bit. I think definitely this one more so, like this is the sudsier of the two, but there's a little bit of sort of like teen CW melodrama vibes to both. So yeah, I think if you like SAWKILL Girls and you're looking for another book, and actually this is the beginning of a series, I think this one is worth checking out to see if you like it. Next up, I think if you liked Bad Blood, you should also try Catch and Kill by Ronan Farrow. So Bad Blood has been like a booktube darling the last, 18 months or so, and for a good reason, because this is incredibly readable. It is nonfiction, but it is narrative nonfiction that basically reads like fiction, even though it's based on true things. It is about corruption in an institution and about a reporter's journey to expose that truth. And Catch and Kill is very similar. It is very readable. It's actually quite bingeable. It's very hard to put it down. It's kind of a page turner, but it's nonfiction. It's narrative nonfiction about the Harvey Weinstein investigation that blew open a couple of years ago, whereas this is about Theranos. But it's also just about corruption within NBC and just sort of journalism in general, as well as corruption in sort of like the Hollywood machine. So I think that there's a lot of similarities between these two books, and if you liked sort of the compulsively readable qualities of this one, I also think you would like Catch and Kill quite a bit. Next one, we've got slightly obscure YA mystery / adventure thrilling picks. This one is definitely very backlist. So if you like The Name of the Star by Maureen Johnson, because I do think that a lot of people remember this book very fondly in terms of a YA kind of supernaturally mystery, I think if you like this, you would also like Spectacle by Jodie Zdrok, and you would like The Tesla Legacy by K.K. Perez. Both Spectacle and The Tesla Legacy I would definitely recommend as read-alike titles in terms of very similar vibes of a speculative, somewhat sci-fi, somewhat fantasy element to both, and a secret society kind of thing to both, and teens trying to figure out the mystery in both with really compelling, strong female leads. Both of those books have all of those things, which are, I think, some of the key elements of The Name of the Star. So if you're into some version of speculative or supernaturally qualities plus a mystery in a YA book, I think all three of those would be good picks for you. I should note that Spectacle does have a historical fiction element to it. It is set in 1800s Paris, versus the other two are more set today. Like this one is taking place in London, and then The Tesla Legacy is somewhere in America. But I think all three have very similar kind of core elements to them. Okay, next I'm gonna say that if you liked the In Death series by JD Robb, I think a good romantic suspense series for you to try would be Tracers from Laura Griffin. Now, I don't think that they are as well written in the sense of like the character work is not nearly as deep, and they are also episodic, whereas the In Death series is more running over the course of a series, the same characters. But I think in terms of the balance of mystery to romantic suspense plot, they're very similar. Like they're both crime of the week kind of books, and the crime time of the week is usually where the bulk of the focus is. The character piece in the Tracer series is more specifically focused on a romance, like the romantic suspense bit of it. It's two people getting together from this kind of cast of characters that we know and love over the course of the series. Whereas the character work is not as specifically a romance, and it's more just generally, you know, interpersonal dynamics that are growing. Like, yes, there is a romance, but over the series, it becomes much more about like their community in general. So like Eve deepening her connections with all of these people in her life. But I think like I said, I think in terms of the mystery to the character pieces, these are pretty similarly weighted. And if you're looking for just sort of like a crime of the week kind of series, I would definitely recommend both. Okay, I'm gonna go out on a limb for the next one because I've not actually finished one of these books, but the reason I put it down was because the tone was not what I was expecting. I think I'm gonna go back and end up enjoying it, but the tone did remind me very much of a specific book. So if you liked the vibe of Sorcery of Thorns, which I have not yet finished, but if you like the kind of writing style, authorial posture, kind of like how magic works or is communicated in the world, if you like this, I think you would also like Howl's Moving Castle by Diana Wynne Jones, which is one of my all-time favorite YA fantasy kind of books. I would also say that it's not just the writing that reminds me between the two of them, it's also sort of like the age that it's pitched at, because back when I was growing up, YA really was very much just pitched at young adults and not also adult readers. So it reads, older YA reads younger than YA does today because it really was purely for, you know, 14 to 16-year-olds. And this, I think, also has that. Like, it doesn't read up very much. Like, it really does read like it was pitched at true young adults. So I think both of those things, plus like I was saying, kind of the vibe and the sort of world, remind me a lot of each other. Okay, this next one is complicated because there are 4 different series involved in it. So let's start with how to say this. Okay, if you like the Psy-Changling series, I think you will also like a trilogy from Jacqueline Carey called the Agent of Hell series. This is the 3rd one, because I think that they both have like political machination things happening in a similar way, and the writing quality is similar. So I would recommend, if you like this, you would also like this. I would also tell you though that if you like the Sookie Stackhouse paranormal mystery series, you will also like this, because this is set in a small town and it's got kind of a love triangle thing happening in it. So I think that either Psy-Changeling or Sookie Stackhouse, depending on the reasons you like those series, could lead you to liking the Agent of Hell series, which I think is really underloved. Like, I think that this was a really good, like, kind of paranormal, like, urban fantasy type series that took a lot of the sort of sudsy qualities of the Sookie Stackhouse books and kind of elevated it a little bit in terms of the writing and the character dynamics. Like, I just think that this is a really good little trilogy that nobody really remembers, but I really liked it and still think of it fondly. And then I did also want to mention that if you do like the Sookie Stackhouse books, I would also recommend to you the Argenaux Vampire series from Lynsay Sands, because it does have the same like sudsy quality to it, kind of the goofiness and the fact that there's always like a mystery plot happening. I think that it's a less angsty series because there's not like an ongoing love triangle. It's episodic, like it has a different couple in every book, so you're not getting this like long-term who's she gonna end up with kind of thing. But I think in terms of like a fun vampire world with mystery plots, I definitely see some overlap there. So that was like a 4-way series recommendation for you. Okay, and then I guess a 3-way recommendation would be that if you like the Dresden Files by Jim Butcher, you should absolutely give the Kate Daniels series from Ilona Andrews a try, because I think that it does all the things that Jim Butcher's does while being, I appreciate the overall worldview and authorial posture in these better. So anyway, in terms of like classic urban fantasy series, those are 2 of the best. And I think if you like the Dresden Files, you should definitely give Kate Daniels a try. And then I think if you like Kate Daniels, you should also be reading The Sixth World, because I feel like this really is kind of a marriage between what the Dresden Files does and what Kate Daniels does. So I would say all 3 of those series are, if you like one of them, you should try the others. Okay, and then in terms of classics, I do think that if you like Agatha Christie's, either her Poirot series or her Miss Marple series, you should 100% give Dorothy Sayers' Lord Peter Wimsey books a try. Now, I will say that I personally 100% prefer Agatha Christie. I think that Dorothy Sayers is often looked at as sort of the best writer of that kind of group of golden age of detective fiction folks, because she definitely has like a literary quality to her mysteries, and I find that the puzzle mysteries, to my taste, if I'm remembering correctly, and I need to do a reread of that series, that's probably going to be like a 2021 thing, but if I'm remembering rightly, don't find that those mysteries are as satisfying to me as the Agatha Christie ones, but I do find them that they are better written on a technical level. But anyway, I think if you like Agatha Christie and you're looking for another golden age of detective fiction author to try, Dorothy Sayers would be who I would recommend. I do really still love what she does, and I think she's a good next one to go with. Okay, and then rounding out with a YA pick, actually I do have a bonus one, but we'll talk about how I'm gonna do it because I don't want to spoil people, so I have to do it in a different way. But for this main section, I think that, and I want to caveat also by saying I've not read the entirety of the series, but just based on the first book, if you liked The Diviners, the first book, I think that you should try The Naturals by Jennifer Lynn Barnes, because both of them are YA mysteries with a similar level of sort of supernatural or preternatural things happening. It's not a full-on like paranormal. It's like easing into that world but not going fully there. Now, I would not be surprised if the Diviner series eventually goes much more paranormal than it did in the first one, but in terms of sort of the types of characters, the level of supernaturalness, the mystery that's going on, I definitely think if you liked one, you'd probably like the other, or at least should try the other. I personally vastly prefer this series because this is basically Criminal Minds YA, and I really love where the series is going, and I think that the length of it's right. I do think The Diviners is too long, basically, like it's too long of a book, and I think it would have been well served to have had about a third of it cut out. So I personally prefer this one over The Diviners, but if you liked The Diviners, I think it's worth giving this one a try if you're looking for another YA mystery. So the last read-alike that I want to do involves The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle. But to give you the read-alike, I'm going to have to spoil both the twist of this book and the twist of the book that I want to recommend. And if you don't care about that, I want to do that because I do really think that these two books are similar in a key way. And I want to talk about why one of them worked for me and why one of them didn't work for me. So I want to do that, but I also, I will spoil both of these books and you have no way of knowing, I can't just casually mention this because I will end up spoiling both of them accidentally, and I have no way of warning you of what book I'm about to spoil to recommend for this one. So, all that to say, after my normal credits, I will give you the read-alike for this one that will spoil that book. So, if you don't want to accidentally have a book spoiled for you that maybe you want to read, click off now, I understand. But after the credits, I will come back and give you my last read-alike. So, all the warnings, I don't want to accidentally spoil anyone, but I've been dying to make this comparison somewhere on the channel, so here we go. So for those of you who are leaving me now, thank you so much for watching. Definitely let me know if you agree or disagree on any of the read-alikes that I recommended, if you can at least see where I'm coming from, even if that's not one that you would do. Let me know if there's other read-alikes for some of the books that I mentioned that you would recommend to people. And yeah, I think that will do it, unless you're gonna stay for this very spoilery section. So I think that will do it for everyone else though. If you like this video, please like, subscribe, follow me on the social medias if you're so inclined. I have all that information listed in the description box below, and I guess I'll just talk to you soon. Bye! Okay, you stayed, you want to know. I don't want to hear any complaints about me spoiling a book that you were wanting to read because I have given you all the warnings. So, if you liked the twist in this, a book that has a very similar twist is The 10th Girl by Sarah Faring. However, I do not like the twist in this one, and I do like it in this one. And the reason is, this book clearly sets up that there is something external to the world itself going on, that there is some sort of outside player, whereas it is not signaled in this this one, and I think when it's revealed, it feels very cheap. To me, it feels very similar to like a TV show that ends with, and it was all a dream. Like, it's that level in my opinion, but other people love that twist and think that it really works. And actually, my friend Bethany at Beautifully Bookish Bethany, I would recommend if you want to get the full spoilers on it, go read her Goodreads review, because I think she lays out why it did work for her. And I think if you have certain references, you will like this better. I did not like this, but I like the rest of the book, and I wish that it had really been what was sort of described on the back. But anyway, that is my spoilery comparison that I've been dying to make. So now that I've done it, I can finally unhaul this book, because I wanted to find a way to make a mention of it in some video I did. And now I have, so I will give it away to someone so somebody else can give it a try. Okay, thanks, bye.